Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for the Westmoreland Intermediate Unit's Committee of the Whole meeting this evening. Each division director will have 10 minutes to share information with the board and have further discussion. The reason for the Committee of the Whole this evening is simply doing this in a virtual manner. We felt it was the most efficient way to do this since there is a lot of information, and also it helps recalibrate the entire board in terms of what's going on in the many different divisions. So, Mr. Tim Hamill, you're going to start us off with curriculum services. So the floor is yours, Tim.
All right. Is it okay if I share screen?
Absolutely.
I think Bill Leonard might have his hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to take just a moment, and I'm going to listen. I want to thank you guys for perseverance and being prepared. You got a plan, and you seem to remain. All I know, speaking for our district, we're trying to remain flexible, deal with it as it comes, and I just want to say we're in good hands up there. So I'm going to sit back here and listen.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Leonard. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay. You can see my agenda manager.
We can.
All right. Thank you. And good evening, everyone. And Dr. Conway, please feel free to stop me because as the team knows, I can't say hello in 10 minutes. So, yeah.
I'll give you the 2-minute warning.
Welcome to the club.
All right. So thank you for giving us all a little bit of time to talk here tonight to explain some of what's happening. As you might guess, our division being responsible for distance learning, we've been quite busy. And in fact, our numbers right now, we are over 13,000 course enrollments, serving over 2,500 students. So that's far bigger than we've ever been. Actually, if you think about it, we're now serving as many students that you might have in a medium to small size school district. So it has been a huge undertaking, and I'm very proud of the team for getting through this first 9 weeks, which is really a milestone for us at this point. I shared with you here on the first screen, this is the curriculum services team. Myself as director with our E-Academy clerk, Rachel Barner. Jason Boone serves as a curriculum supervisor. Joe DiLucente also as a curriculum services. Oh, he's not the director. He's the supervisor as well. Typo there. Becky Henderson is our distance learning supervisor. And curriculum services secretaries, Jenny Moore and Sue Soltis serves as an instructional design specialist. In addition, we have about 115 E-Academy teachers who are part of our staff. And we also have 12 English as a second language EL teachers that work with us. So it's a fairly diverse division, and we do a lot. You hear us talk a lot in our meetings about E-Academy frequently because it is one of the large things that we do and are responsible for. But we also do a lot of other things that I know you hear about occasionally, but I wanted to share with you something that maybe will give you a little more of a pipeline to what we share with your districts. And I'm going to bring this up as a site. The link is here in the agenda manager as well, if you'd like to click on it, and we'll share it out with you in the future as well. We have always met with your district's curriculum leaders, whether that is an assistant superintendent or a designated curriculum coordinator in your district. We meet regularly with those folks. And one of the primary reasons we do that is that we have a tremendous amount of information that comes through the Department of Education through our division, and we are responsible for sharing that. So we've in the past done a lot of that sharing through our what we called our info card system, which was basically a place where we'd tack that information up there and share it out and try to keep it updated as best as we could. So in an effort to improve that system, we've now moved that to an online site where we share all of this information. And that's what I'm showing you currently. And just to give you an idea of the depth and breadth of the division, there is kind of a rundown here of many of the initiatives that we're responsible for. And again, many of these are connected to PDE initiatives, things like career readiness, CDT. We do training and manage CDT testing for your districts. Many of your districts do this type of testing on a regular basis in the classroom with students. So we do training for that, and we help facilitate those things. Comprehensive planning, what's one thing we're responsible for supporting and helping districts with. One of the big things that we do, and actually it's a fairly large revenue generation point for our division, and it is CPE courses. These are continuing professional education credits that are sanctioned by the Department of Ed. Each year, we have hundreds of people from across the state who take our courses, many of which are online, and they are taken for credit for permanent certification and beyond. So it's a very active part of what we do. Of course, I mentioned the distance learning component, which goes well beyond just e-academy components. There's a lot of other distance learning supports that we do and other training components that we have as well. We also operate the English learner component of the IU, serving anywhere. It fluctuates, but I think right now we're somewhere around 75 students we currently serve with the 12 teachers we have out there. We also do additional services, testing, and so on. Another element which is new for us this year, again, an initiative of the state, is an equity component. Looking at equity for students in this day and age of some of the racial issues that are in our society, and also considerations for rural and remote communities. So this is a component that we work to support as well. Also, we have things like the Future Ready Index, which is part of the school improvement, PVAS, which is part of your data, receiving data that tells you where you stand with student performance. We do training on that. We support it. We are out there helping schools. In fact, just today we had a half-day workshop with Greensburg-Salem administration on their data. We do a lot of work in that realm. We support STEM. We have an extensive STEM library, as well as supporting a STEM collaborative in the county, and numerous other smaller programs that are associated with that. In addition, we always try to add into what we do what's relative at the time. So we've adopted a First in Math program, which is a great support program that's helping out tremendously during this online education push that we're all in right now. So students are able to work math problems in a competitive environment. It's working well and having a lot of success with that. I also want to mention the Westmoreland County Principals Association we operate, where we meet with your district principals on a regular basis. We provide a network for them to communicate, talk, discuss. We also work with the districts on other opportunities like professional development. We have a series of micro professional development components we have out there, but we also custom tailor professional development to support the districts as well. So I truly rushed through all of that in an extremely fast manner, but it hopefully gives you an idea of how expansive the work is that we do. And it's not just any one thing. It's not just distance learning, and it's not just supporting any one thing. It changes and it evolves with the needs of your districts. And I can honestly tell you that there hasn't been a 1 year following another that has been the same. It continues to evolve as you as districts evolve. So I'll stop there, and if anybody has any questions, be glad to answer.
Quick comment, Tim. Thank you very much for that overview. It just underscores the importance of the IU and specifically the work your organization plays in this very unprecedented year that we're living in. Thank goodness we have you, because
Thank you for that.
Your people are a linchpin in making this thing work this year.
Well, there are so many people involved in that, and I appreciate those words. I know each of us will speak highly of the teams that we have that work with us. I would say that of the team I have in my years at the IU, which are about 15 years, I've never had a team of people that I've been more proud of working with. And they just do tremendous work every day on your behalf.
We thank you for that.
Thank you.
So Tim, could you just comment on how has the state now better leveraging IUs during COVID?
Well, it's interesting you say that. There's one of the things that happened when we fell into the crisis that we found in March. I think that the state saw IUs ready and willing and able to jump in and support and help everywhere possible. I don't remember a month of my life that's ever been so intense, but also very rewarding because we felt like we were able to help. And that's true of all 29 IUs across the state. So I think because of that work we did at that time, the Department of Ed really had its eyes open to what IUs are capable of doing and supporting, and even more so than they had prior to March. So we're finding ourselves in a much better position with the Department of Ed being asked to do more work, more important work, I would say, as well. Things we're being trusted with that we may not have been trusted with in the past because we've shown that capacity to do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tim. And Tim, you have 31 more seconds. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
I yield the balance of my time.
Very well done.
There's
Okay.
a first for you.
All right. So we're gonna shift to financial services at this time. So Lynn Liu, our director,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Okay, let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see my agenda manager.
We can.
And I do have just a short PowerPoint presentation for you this evening. What I wanted to share with you was the effect of COVID as far as our expenditures and some grants that we have been able to receive. The grants that we have been awarded thus far include a PCCD, or Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. They had a specific IU grant. Every IU in the state received an award of $90,000. They also had a PCCD grant for non-pub schools for safety. And what they did was they had the IUs include those grants for all the non-public schools that came and applied under the IU umbrella. And in doing that, instead of having like an indirect cost or an administrative fee, the IU could have a grant of up to $10,000 itself as well. There were more applicants than they had money for, so not anyone got $10,000, but we did get $8,167 of that pot of money. We also have been advised that we're getting GEAR funds for historically underserved students in the amount of $44,583 and change. We have yet to receive much information on this one. And we do have two other GEAR funds grants that we are receiving, both for EI, for early intervention. One is for pandemic-related supplies, and the other one is for compensatory education. The footnote, I want to back up a second on the non-pub grant. When I mentioned that the PCCD non-pub grant included non-public schools in our area, there were actually 23 non-public schools that applied for, and they get $179,000, and we actually have to pass those funds on to the non-pub schools because PDE isn't able to directly pay non-public schools. And in that realm, we have all the reporting to have to do, and we have to do all the accounting for it. And then the last piece was we did get a reimbursement early on. PDE encouraged the purchase of unique learning systems through New to You for the WIU and several of our school districts. So we got a direct reimbursement of this $76,000. And Dr. Thomas, if you want to know what unique learning systems is, I'd have to ask Dr. Thomas because I'm not really sure myself. The actual grant specifications, the COVID $90,000, there were 7 categories of eligible expenditures: PP&E, cleaning, training for staff around cleaning with COVID, modifications to existing areas, mental health, technology, equipment, and other health and safety. And we actually, our time period on this one covered March 1st through October 30th. So it was something that we could start to expend funds early on, and we did incur costs early on. We chose to use a significant portion of this to acquire equipment, technology equipment, and also some modifications. We had Eric Vaughn had a plumbing firm come in and look at putting in no-touch toilets and no-touch sink faucets in our administration building and at Clairview. So that was something that we got done, and it was, something that was very, very beneficial. The reporting requirements of this, we have quarterly fiscal and program reports that are due, and then final reports that are due after 60 days. The non-pub grant for COVID, PCCD, is also very similar to this. They have the same 7 categories, and the non-pub schools have pretty much run the gamut on this. Some of them are spending it all on technology. Some are spending it on, training and PP&E, but $179,000 is all over the board on this aspect. And their actual time frame is from July 1 of 2020 through June 30th, 2021. So it's just this fiscal year. The gear funds that I mentioned earlier, the $44,000, this is for that historically underserved. It's related to ATSI and ESSA funding, but we're still awaiting information on that. So we don't know the available uses that we can have, as well as the time period or the reporting requirements. And then the 2 other ones, the EI gears, the gear EI for pandemic related supplies is $70,000, and the EI compensatory is $117,000, almost $118,000. Those 2 were also waiting on information. We've been told that Oakdale is going to release the specific information on those 2 grants in the very near future. So we'll have more with that. As I mentioned, we did use our COVID WIU grant. We used it for PP&E, modifications to some building aspects, and then technology. And that is completely done. We have received the $90,000, and we submitted all the expenditures for that. For the COVID non-pub grant, we actually have incurred about $2,600 of our $8,100, and the IU, or the non-pubs that are reporting through our IU, have expended $75,000 in the first quarter of their amount of $179,000. So there's still $104,000 that we'll need to accumulate and report out to PDE, and then get reimbursement to pass back through to the non-pub schools. And then we did receive the $76,000 from Patton, which was the PDE reimbursement for unique learning systems. The additional source of funds that I do want to talk about, this was non-governmental, but we did receive the R.K. Mellon grant as well, an award from R.K. Mellon for $200,000, and it's for covering the fiscal year of 2021. It's part of their COVID-19 Economic Impact and Recovery Initiative, and it's a Learning Equitable Accessibility Network, or their LEAN project. And the goals of that project are to expand and enhance virtual learning opportunities, build educators' capacity to lead learning, and it's for children aged 3 through 8th grade. What the IU proposal was, that the grant that got awarded, is that we are going to create a lending library of devices and connectivity for those, so internet access will go along with the devices. We will provide professional development for up to 1,500 teachers and therapists in the county, and also provide support, training, and consultation to parents. So this is really just, like I said, just getting started. The 1920 expenditures that we incurred were about almost $277,000, and $166,000 of that was covered by grants or reimbursement from PDE. Thus far in 2021, we've incurred another $37,000 in COVID-related expenses, and these are things that we wouldn't have normally had purchased had it not happened for COVID. And that $2,600 has been covered by grants. So incurred to date is around $314,000, and approximately 54% of that has been reimbursed. The reason that the additional grant monies that were expended in 1920 would not be reimbursed is we had space in programs such as early intervention. The last 9 weeks of early intervention, there were no itinerant teachers traveling. we had plenty of the state allocation monies that were still available for us to use. So we were able, since they were not equipment purchases, they weren't beyond a $1,500 capitalizable equipment, we were able to purchase the technology equipment that our early intervention teachers and SLPs needed within that program. So that's why the expenses incurred in 2019-20 are higher and not as high as of a reimbursement. So that's my summary. I'm not sure if there are any questions, but I'll certainly try to answer them if you have them.
Thank you, Lynn. I just think it's very interesting to see how much money has been made available to the IU and non-public schools and all the rest that you went over. So this year is, again, quite unique in that money has come through the state channels to allow us to be able to pursue these things that are unique COVID things that cost money.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been fortunate. We've gotten federal, state, and local money, but again, it's there's a lot of different requirements around them. We're doing a lot just to make sure that we're tracking them because the requirements are all very different.
And I'm sure the auditors will check on all of that.
Absolutely. Especially, you know, we had to make sure that we were recording the revenues in the right periods and deferring revenues if we had received funds ahead. So yeah, they definitely are looking at all of that.
So any other questions for Lynn? Well, Lynn, thank you so much for keeping us organized. A lot of different things are going on financially with COVID and the number of reports that have to be done now on top of the normal piece. We know that we're currently going through the audit. Any comments that you want to make in terms of how the audit's going during a remote type of setting?
Actually, it's going very smoothly. Deluzio and Company has a secure portal that we can upload all of the files that we need to. Eventually, they probably will need to be on site maybe for half a day or part of a day. But at this point, everything's running very smoothly. So it's been working well with us just conversing by Zoom and via email.
Okay, well, thanks again, Lynn, for that great report and great update. So I'm looking in the chat. I don't see any questions posted there. I don't see any hands up at this point. So I think we can shift over to Dr. Thomas. Dr. Thomas, are you ready for the Student Services Subcommittee?
I am, Dr. Conway. Thank you very much.
All right, very good. You have the floor.
I'll share my screen. The time is ticking, so I will get moving right away. I do have on the screen some talking points. For the past few months, the focus of many of my presentations has been focused on mitigation. We did a very deep dive over the summer to show you the breadth and depth of all the student services programs in excess of 200 employees and all of the places that we impact across the county. You've heard about health and safety plans. We wrote 5 of them because that's how wide we reach in terms of the county and the different type of applications. And so for tonight's committee briefing, I wanted to take a different spin for the board in the spirit of understanding that there's still a lot of things where our division and the IU proper has not missed a beat. Regardless of our location, regardless of our teleworking, regardless of everything going on, there are still initiatives that the intermediate unit is leading in this region. And so the focus of the committee briefing, very much what you've heard from Tim and Lynn tonight, is that our business has not stopped. We continue to do all of our other work that we normally would be doing if there wasn't a pandemic going on. So one of the first things I want to discuss tonight is last year, as a part of the budgetary process, we proposed looking at augmenting our transportation for students at the Clairview School, as well as transportation through our work discovery program. As you know, we do have First Student as our transportation contractor, but at times it's not always convenient to transport students for small few mile trips to individual job locations and work discovery, going from the building to building, from Clairview to the admin building when we offer work discovery opportunities, as well as local programming for community-based instruction. And so we are happy to announce that as you see, I believe it's SS 2021-21 tonight, you'll see that Lynn put on our agenda for us from the finance office that we're approving our final financing of a vehicle that we had to order last spring. This is a 2020 Ford van that we're purchasing. That is not the actual van. That is actually a mock-up from Ford's website. It is a 10-passenger vehicle currently shipped out of the Kansas City plant and is sitting at Bluebird Bus Sales in Pittsburgh, getting its outfitting right now for a wheelchair lift as well as fold-away seats. Under DOT regulations, the Department of Transportation mandates that one wheelchair is equivalent to 4 student seats in seatbelts. And so this vehicle can be configured up to 10 total people in the vehicle, so 1 driver and 9 passengers, or the combination of 2 wheelchairs, a driver and a passenger at maximum. And beyond all of the things that we do, this is one of the first times where we will have the staff authorized to do this for short trips around Greensburg to support our work discovery program and needs that we have. And we're very, very excited to add this to our fleet of vehicles that we have to support kids. Very, very excited about this. Something as simple as you have a friend day, which is operated by Westmoreland County, which is at Twin Lakes Park, right up the road from the IU offices. Sometimes we run into transportation issues where it would have been very convenient to have that extra vehicle to transport students in a quick circumstance, or in the case of an emergency, to be one more vehicle to have instead of having to wait for buses to arrive. And so those are sort of the smaller pieces or needs of this. The larger pieces are that we were able to support now community-based instruction, able to support a lot of interesting programming through our work discovery program as we evolve it over the next 3 to 5 years. And so the vehicle should arrive any day now. We're just waiting for a heads up from Bluebird when it's going to arrive. So thank you for your support. So far this year, our training and consultation team, or what we refer to as TAC, is heavily involved in supporting school districts and teachers and administrators. And they operate very similarly to our curriculum services division, but more with a special education focus. So there's a lot of cross collaboration between our TAC team and our curriculum supervisors and our distance learning supervisor. Tim, of course, is our curriculum services director. That entire team is heavily collaborative with our TAC team, but TAC sometimes gets a little more in the weeds on finite special education issues. The data that I present to you tonight is representative of what has been happening since August 26th. And almost 1,000 teachers at this point. It's a little bit higher than 804. This is about 2.5 weeks old, and we've had some meetings since then. But I want to guide you to the last 3 bullets. We're getting still, even in a virtual setting, we're getting 91% would recommend the training to a colleague and 95% found the presenter engaging. This has been a heavy lift for us because sometimes we tend to tune out when it's a virtual learning experience versus an in-person learning experience. And so we're seeing a multitude of opportunities that we've never thought of before, ways to find teachers during their prep periods for 5 minutes just for a quick consultation, IEP meetings that are now facilitated via Zoom rather than having to be in person, which is highly convenient for parents that work from home or work from an office. A lot of innovation happening across training and consultation, innovation and learning right now. And so we're very, very proud of this team. This is a team of 7 individuals that work across all initiatives in special education, from assistive technology to local task force, to brain steps for people with traumatic brain injuries, to behavior and autism, and the gamut is wide in this particular team. Of note, last week we had a countywide speech meeting, and this is a normal event for us. We host one in the fall and one in the spring. Our presenter was Gail Tatentove, who is an expert in AAC, as you'll see on there, on specific communication strategies and assistive technologies. So we're very, very happy to have her on. She actually presented from Florida as a virtual presentation, and all of our therapists were able to do that. So you can see, it doesn't matter where you are, the training continues, and we're seeing that happen. One of the highlights of this is that we had 83 participants, and that included all 17 of our WIU school districts in our region, but it also included at least one participant from 6 other intermediate units in our region. So again, we're trying to position ourselves as a regional leader in unique areas. We have employed over 43 speech language pathologists across school age and early intervention. And so this is a huge area for us to support our staff in terms of professional learning. And finally, I'd like to highlight something that we're very proud of. Again, with all of the things happening in the background, we actually had time to write 2 grants and we were awarded. Beyond the RK Mellon grant, which again was something that was awesome that you heard Lynn foreshadow earlier, we've now won 2 grants, one for out of the Patton Pittsburgh office and one out of the Patton King of Prussia office. So for those of you that may not be familiar with Patton, Patton stands for the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network. And a little bit different than an IU, they probably sit between IUs and the Department of Ed. Whereas there's only 3 offices across the state, and they do very, very specialized work, specifically in special education only. They do not do anything else other than special education. And so the Patton Pittsburgh office is off of Route 28 north of Pittsburgh, and King of Prussia, of course, is on the main line, getting off the turnpike to go on the Schuylkill Expressway. So they're sort of at opposite ends of the state. And then there is a Harrisburg office too. The administration is always able to empower one of those 3 offices to lead innovation. And the Competitive Integrated Employment Grant that we just were awarded by the Patton Pittsburgh office comes down to the opportunity to develop a PAES lab, or a practical assessment exploration system lab, for our region, for all IU schools. This is something you typically would not see developed in an individual school district, but rather a regional educational service agency like WIU. And so this is not VOTEC. This is not career and technology education proper like we would see at a CTC. However, this is specialized training for young adults with a special need in 5 of these domain categories. And I specifically took a screenshot there of those 5 areas. You can see that there's a lot of work, usually repetitive work, usually detail work, that we can train students, specifically young adults, usually age 16 to 21 in this realm, and empowering them for competitive, gainful employment as they transition beyond their school experience. As it stands now, we're looking to implement this at the admin building in the center ICE area. Tim has been incredibly gracious to invite us to collaborate with the curriculum services team. And this is in development. We're hoping to have this launching a little bit later this year. For right now, we're still in the grant phase of contracting and making sure that we have everything ordered and organized. So we're in the design phase, but we're very proud to announce that this is on our horizon. And finally, the telepresence robot grant, which came out of Patton King of Prussia, it's around $23,000, which will empower us to develop a lending library for the trial usage of telepresence robots. I have 2 examples there on the right-hand side. The Omni robot, which is again a floor-based device that can be driven around. If you've ever been in Center Ice, we actually have another rival manufacturer called Double over in Center Ice currently, that was purchased with the grant monies that Tim did with Center Ice about 4 or 5 years ago. This is just the evolution of telepresence robots and how they're changing. The white robot that you see there on the screen is called a Kubi. That's a desktop-based robot where you fit an iPad actually into the Kubi itself. And then that base rotates 360 degrees and can follow the presenter, which could be a teacher or a student within the classroom. The reason this is critical for our school districts, if you'll note on the 3rd bullet there, is we often have short-term and long-term situations for kids with an unfortunate situation, not necessarily special education, by the way, medical fragility, temporary ACL repair surgery, and they want to actually participate from home with that device. The student can actually drive the device remotely while at school. And so this is new technology. This is sort of outside the box thinking for having students have that telepresence while at home on short-term and long-term examples. And the long-term example was one we had in our EI program we had a student that was not able to come to school and was transitioning into kindergarten. So we were able to support that district as they left our EI program and they were transitioning to that school district's kindergarten program. So the key point here is it is providing our educational consultants expert training and leadership. It's providing our districts a lending library that they'll have access to as they move forward. It's awesome seed money to grow a program at an intermediate unit level that has massive impact across any applications in 17 districts. And so I think that summarizes my report for tonight. I think I stayed pretty close within the 10 minutes.
All right. And using Tim's balanced time. So great job, Dr. Thomas. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Dr. Thomas in regards to student services?
Jason, this is Paul. I don't have questions. Again, I'm truly impressed with what services we are providing. And thank you very much. Thank you, Matt. Anyway, I did get a text while that last presentation was going from Bill Leonard. He said he is listening and he wanted to know if there was a question and answer period to follow this. So if you're still there, Bill, if you have a question, you might ask it now. You see, as he's shown on the, your mic is muted right now.
Yeah, and I'm pressing the ask to unmute button for him.
Okay.
And it doesn't appear to be working.
All right. Well, maybe he's unable to make a voice connection.
Okay.
But he did say he was listening.
Okay. All right. So are there any other questions for Dr. Thomas? Oh, we may have
Hey.
Mr. Leonard.
Bill, it
Hello,
is
can you
star 6. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I hit it anyway. Enough of that. Yeah, that's all. Just a question answer. I don't want to take up time because we're moving along. Let me just listen, okay? I'm getting some answers, questions answered.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So, okay. So that would then, unfortunately, Mr. Vaughn is not going to be able to join us this evening. He is dealing with a family issue. So just keep him in your thoughts this evening. So that would end the committee of the whole portion of tonight's meeting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the live broadcast. So for those who are watching live on YouTube, you're going to notice that we're going to cut off broadcast here for just a few moments, and then we're going to come back on for the official public meeting. So